now available in paperback and e-readers, The Temptation of John Haynes. Give in to temptation and pick up this action-packed African-American paranormal romance. Get The Temptation of John Haynes in paperback and e-readers today. One of my viewers from Germany has a dilemma. Now, this viewer had a government job in Germany and decided to transfer to another office that was closer to his home. And as he transferred to this office that was closer to his home, he let things slip that he did not finish his master's degree. And after he let this information out, this is where the coworker decided to go to HR, and they decided to check everything on his resume and found out that he basically lied on his resume. And now this viewer basically is in a situation where they are depressed and anxious because they fear that they're going to lose their job that they've had for the last 5 years. And this viewer wanted some advice from me as related to this situation, and I know where this viewer is coming from because 15 years ago, where I was his age, I wound up losing a civil service job that I thought I was going to have until right now, but sadly I wasn't able to keep that job because this librarian was upset and thought I was sleeping at the desk when I was looking down, and my black female worker went along with him, and eventually I just wound up losing that job during that probationary period. Now, this viewer's dilemma is the fact that they basically wound up lying on their resume, and lying on your resume is not something you want to do, especially when you're a black man, because in the system of white supremacy, the white supremacist will look for any advantage to get you out of your job. Now, in previous videos, I have told every black man who has been out here in the job market, you are behind enemy lines, and because you are behind enemy lines, you really have to watch how you move out here, because all it takes is the most minute thing, and you could go from being employed to basically being unemployed, or in some cases, you could just basically wind up becoming unemployable. So you just have to be very careful about how you move out here in the streets of corporate America, which is the business arm of white supremacy. So this viewer basically wound up making a major tactical error, buying into ideas that I heard one guy was at a library when I was looking for work, told me to lie on my resume. But I know as a heterosexual black man, that's something that's a no-no, because when it comes to heterosexual black men, they basically, when they just are going through the resumes and they are looking at names, that's the first thing that they look for. And when they go on an interview and see that you're a black man, they basically are going to be doing Google searches on your name and looking for the least little detail to basically look to weed your resume out. And in the case of information, these people will go as far as basically calling people because you're a black man and they don't trust anything that you say. So when you're a black man and you're out here in the job market, when it comes to your credentials, you need to make sure that every I is dotted, every T is crossed, and every detail on that resume is accurate, because when it comes to these employers, they are going to look for the most minutest detail and will go beyond even the background check, which will basically go out here and find all the information. No, when it comes to the heterosexual black man and your credentials, these people are going to be calling up people on the phone to find out where you come from. That's how much they scrutinize a black man's credentials, because they don't trust a word you say regarding your credentials the minute you answer the first question at that interview. The minute you answer that first question at that interview, these guys are already looking at you skeptical, because in their eyes, black men in and of themselves are not considered to be capable or competent as related to doing things, and many people really don't believe a black man can go out here and achieve or accomplish anything on their own. So when it comes to these employers, they look at our records and again scrutinize our credentials to the most minutest detail, and that's why you have to make sure everything on your resume is absolutely accurate when you're a black man, because yes, that white or that non-black person can get away with lies, but those people are supported by white supremacy. And in the case of the white male and the white female, they can get away with lies on their resume because the system will protect them. But that same protection, that same system does not see a black man as an ally. No, they see the black man as an enemy. And because you are behind enemy lines, you need to make sure your paperwork is on point. You need to make sure every detail of your paperwork is on point, because they are looking for any reason to get you out of that job. And the whole big mistake that this individual did was he basically went out here and made that one slip of the tongue. And again, when it comes to the people who you're working around, they're waiting for any opportunity to basically take a black man out. So basically, sadly, this guy, he thought he was going to become more comfortable working closer to his home. And that was the other mistake that he made, was basically getting comfortable. One of the worst things you could ever do in a workplace, I've told people this a dozen times, is get comfortable in a workplace as a black man. Because as a black man, you can't get comfortable because you have enemies all around you. And you have to go into that workplace understanding you're not gonna stay here, and any day could be your last day. Even in a secure job like the government, any day could be your last day at that job, because these people will look for all sorts of technicalities to get you out of a job. And that's why you cannot be going out here and telling lies on your resume, because telling lies on your resume in many cases for whites and non-blacks could possibly lead to them getting fired if they don't have that protection from other managers, because lying on your resume basically is an automatic grounds for a termination, and in some cases you can get sued. I mean, this is a really bad place this brother is in, and I really feel for this brother because he made, again, a tactical error for a common person in the job market, but a very destructive one for a heterosexual black man. Because again, when it comes to the heterosexual black man, they already think we have no credibility as related to things, and this whole situation basically reinforces their point and is now going to make it just not only harder for this brother to keep a job, but also going to make it harder for any other brother to be able to find employment with the government, because they're all going to project this guy's lies onto other people. And sadly, he didn't see that big picture because he didn't understand the unwritten social rules of the workplace as related to white supremacy, because the unwritten social rules of white supremacy is, again, a black worker or a potential worker is always considered to be a liar, always considered to be incompetent, always considered to be disposable, always considered to be someone who the company has no value outside of meeting possible diversity quotas, and is someone who can easily possibly be terminated. And that's what they look to do in the situations of heterosexual black men. So you have to understand, when you're in the workplace, again, when you're a heterosexual black man, you cannot go out here telling lies, because the whole thing is the white supremacist is always looking and scrutinizing your credentials, always looking to scrutinize your work, and again, looking for any little minute detail, looking for any opportunity to get you out of that job. And that's why you gotta, again, watch yourself and understand, again, that any day in this workplace can be your last day. Any day in this workplace can be the end of you. But even though any day in a workplace can be your last day and be your end in that workplace, it's not going to be the end of the world for you. that's something I want the viewer to understand, because the viewer says he's possibly struggling with his mental health at this point. And that's one of the things I struggled with back in 2008. I mean, I struggled with my mental health, and if I didn't have God with me to tell me the week before I lost my job to keep going, I wouldn't be here right now, because I had dealt with the mental health issues when I lost a receptionist job in 2002, and that basically made it where I had basically wound up in a situation where I couldn't even speak because I felt so bad about my voice, because this guy was saying I was being hostile on the phone, and it made it where I had interviews sometimes and I couldn't take those. I wouldn't even go on those interviews because they said they wanted a phone relief, and I couldn't even talk on the phone after that. That's just how I felt, because again, I had had issues with my voice from people mocking me in the past, and it just really is something that really, again, affected me. So I understand how it can affect your mental health, and I had to persevere to get my voice back with YouTube, and I had to persevere after I lost that job in 2008. That's where I started to work on a solution. I mean, I thought I would be able to come back and get another office assistant job with the City University of New York Civil Service list, but that didn't work out. And as I was looking to try to get that job, what I did was, again, stay in the gospel and stay with God. That helped me maintain my issues as related to my mental health, as related to anxiety, and it further helped me to be able to continue to persevere as I look to continue working on a way to get myself employed and basically find other alternative ways to make a living. Now, as I was, again, staying with God in my spiritual foundation, I understood that, yes, I was going through a hard time, but I understood as long as God was with me, I could still go on, because if He told me to keep going, I could go on, and this brother can continue to go on, even though he made this tactical error as related to lying on his resume, even though he made this tactical error as related to this situation, as related to this government job. Yes, he can continue to go on, and he can continue to go on if he understands that losing a job isn't the end of the world, and he can still pick up and move on. And the way he can pick up and move on is, I hopefully understand that he has some sort of skills that he can transfer to something else. Now, one of the things I have been telling black men to do when they work at these jobs, whether they be in corporate, whether they be for the government, is to go out and make sure that you're doing some freelance on the side, because it's those freelance jobs that will allow you to go out here and establish contacts, and those contacts will be able to possibly help you find a way to get towards another gig, because you'll be building your professional reputation and building your professional brand outside of that business. So that's one of the things I tell black men to do, is to go out and, again, if you work in a 9-to-5, always do some freelance jobs. If you have certain skills, do freelance work for people so that you can have references if that job falls apart, because if you wind up getting terminated from that job, there's no way you can use anybody there as a reference or even talk about that job. So what you need to do is, again, have those freelance contacts be your references and have them verify your information, because again, people are looking at your details, but you want them to look at the details you want them to look at. So you'll have alternative references that will show your reputation as related to credible work. And you also want to go out here and work on developing your side hustle. That's another thing you want to do, is work on a side hustle, because the side hustle is possibly going to be your way of making a living, because that side hustle, again, this is a way for you to, again, showcase your skills and build a professional reputation and show that you can continue to show that you can work on your own. This is how you develop your skills with the side hustle, with the freelance jobs, because you just can't rely on a job these days. And when it comes to the black man, he has to understand, any day on this job can be his last day, so he has to have contingencies in place to be able to take care of himself, because he's the only one who can take care of himself. And when it comes to the heterosexual black man, you have to understand, again, they're looking for any reason to get rid of you, and a lie on your resume is something that they can, again, weaponize against you in these businesses. So you really have to understand that you gotta be extra cautious as related to your resume, because you not only have these, again, people who are non-black and white on the job looking to get you out, you also have these black bootlicks in place, again, looking to get an opportunity to get an advance on you. So you really gotta watch how you move on these jobs. And I wish I could have got in touch with this brother from Germany years ago, because I would have told him from minute one, do not lie on your resume, because, again, all it takes is somebody just looking in your background or even doing a Google search, because these folks in the job market, they're going to go into your Google, do a Google search on your name. They're going to go out here and call up the registrar's office of that school. They're going to go out and even go send for transcripts. That's how dysfunctional some of these individuals are, because they can't believe that a black man can go out here and be on that level. I mean, some people here don't even believe a man like myself can be on that level. When they hear me talking like this, they can't process the whole idea of a black man being as well spoken as I am. This is why some of these people be like, oh, you're talking like a robot or an AI, because these people can't process the idea of a black man speaking intelligently. No, the only black men they want to see are these guys who talk in that street slang or are acting all ghetto, and they can't process the idea of a black man having those credentials. They can't process those ideas. And again, this is where you have to be careful in this job market, because I'll repeat it once more. And I know some people don't like me repeating things, but the whole thing is I want to hammer home these points so you can understand, because some people are dumber than a box of rocks and don't really process very well. And I want you to understand, when you're in this job market as a black man, you are behind enemy lines, and everybody's looking to, again, get you out of this job, and you can't work against yourself and get yourself in a place, or put yourself in a place where you're going to get fired, because the only person who's going to keep you employed is you. And that's why you've got to watch how you move out here. But God doesn't do things without a reason. That's what I'm still trying to figure out as related to me losing that job in 2008. And my father, when he was alive, he was so caught up in trying to figure that out. I mean, he was so concerned with me basically being out of work before he passed away. I mean, he was really still concerned, even though he had dementia. He was still worried about me, and that's just something that stays with me. And that's one of the reasons why I have an issue with the City University of New York to this point, because, again, I really wanted to get that job to help myself, because I saw my father so concerned in his older age. And again, I still try to keep going, because I don't know what God is doing with me as related to being this, never working these jobs after 15 years. But I understand out here how many brothers, they're not able to go out here and keep a job, and because they don't have the information. And I try to give this information because I worked in job readiness. I saw black folks struggling as related to employment. I learned that there are certain things as related to soft skills you got to watch out for. And I understand how this job market is, and I know how foul people are in this job market, especially towards black men. And I try to help brothers, and again, I'm hoping I can help this brother, because he's saying that he wants to try to save his mental health. But when it comes to this long-term unemployment, I've understood that, you have to just keep on persevering. And yeah, you're going to be dealing with a lot of hardship and adversity, because now if you go out looking for jobs, you not only have to deal with the feminist HR brick wall, you're going to be dealing with a lot of people who are not going to really trust this dude. But the whole thing is, if he has that background group of people out here as contacts, maybe they can help him out. maybe they can help him out if he did do his due diligence and go out here and build that network of people with freelance jobs and having a side hustle. Maybe this dude can possibly salvage things, because God never leaves or forsakes us. No, God doesn't leave us or forsake us. And maybe they can go out here and get him an opportunity. It's not all over because he made this mistake of lying on his resume, because people lie on their resume. And again, statistics say 50% of people lie on their resume. Now, I don't lie on my resume. I try to tell the truth. Even though I had lost the job, I still told the truth as related to things and let people know how things went. But the whole thing is that even though you tell people the truth, some people may not want to hear it, others may not want to hear it. But the whole thing is, you know the truth, and the whole thing is you have to continue persevering in the face of adversity, and eventually God will work with you and possibly work towards getting this brother in a better position than the one that he wound up losing. Now, I'm hoping that this advice helps this brother as related to his job situation and his employment situation, like many of my other videos on the workplace and the book that I wrote to help a lot of men out here in the workplace stop simping in the workplace. And I'm hoping it helps him be able to get out of this situation and be able to find some employment that will allow him to stay employed in Germany. Now, if you want to learn how to identify workplace predators and dire workplace situations that can jam you up, and you can pick up my book, Stop Simping in the Workplace, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And you can also find Stop Simping in the Workplace at other online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And I wrote that book so that people could learn how to identify workplace predators and avoid situations like this brother wound up in, and be able to hope to stay gainfully employed and keep themselves in a place where they can work and take care of themselves. Now, if you want to request a video about the workplace or workplace issues, you can send a donation for a minimum of $15 to the PayPal or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if I know something about that subject, I will make that video for you. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and ebook, The Man Who Rules the World. John Haynes must bring together men and gods to overcome a threat that seeks to destroy the planet. The Man Who Rules the World. Now available in paperback and e-readers everywhere. Now available for the first time in paperback. Stop Simping in the Workplace. Men, learn what you need to know in order to protect your job from workplace predators with Stop Simping in the Workplace. Available in paperback at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.